Welcome to English Podcast 2.0, the easiest way to learn English on the go.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think about your day for a sec, like a blueprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
From that, first groggy moment when you wake up,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to that quiet stillness just before you fall asleep. What are the actual lines drawn on that blueprint?
Yeah, what are the things you do, the habits, the tiny little choices that fill up all those hours?
Exactly. They're not just random things, are they?
Oh.
It feels like they're more fundamental, like the actual structure of your life is built on them.
Absolutely. And, well, this deep dive is really all about digging into those daily blueprints. We've been looking at some really fascinating accounts of how different people structure their days.
Not just what they do, right?
No, not just the specifics, though those are interesting too, but also the kind of the feeling behind it, the purpose that seems to be woven into these routines people have.
Yeah, that's what I found so compelling. It's not about finding like one perfect, rigid schedule you have to copy exactly. It's not the point at all.
No, it's more about understanding the power of, well, intention and how those small, consistent actions can really add up.
Right. So our mission today really is to pull out the most surprising, maybe the most useful insights from what we've explored to help you maybe look at your own day with, I don't know, fresh eyes.
Spot some opportunities you hadn't considered, perhaps.
Yeah. Think of it as gathering inspiration, little bits and pieces maybe for building a more intentional day, one that's actually tailored for you.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, let's just walk through a full day together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow the path from like the first light of morning through the push of the afternoon.
Into the winding down of the evening.
And then finally that sort of quiet chapter of the night. So maybe grab your favorite drink, get comfortable.
Let's explore this daily rhythm.
Okay, so we begin, like every day does, with the morning.
Morning. Yeah. That can be tough sometimes, can it?
Oh, definitely. For so many people, it starts with that familiar struggle against the alarm clock.
Huh.
The accounts we looked at certainly captured that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like one person described their start around 7 a.m., and it wasn't this sudden leap out of bed. It was more like a moment of quiet resistance first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Maybe just a minute or two, just staring at the ceiling.
That quiet pause.
Yeah.
It really resonates, doesn't it? It kind of highlights that mornings don't have to be this, like, immediate burst of energy for everyone.
Right. And then another perspective we saw involved a much earlier start, closer to 6:30 a.m., I think.
Yeah, and that was driven by work needs, right? Like a customer support job starting early.
Exactly. So for them, the routine had to be quick, clear, efficient,
Right.
right from the get-go.
That contrast is interesting. So whether you have that luxury of a slow transition or you kind of need to hit the ground running.
It seems like the very first actions hold some real weight.
Like what came first?
Well, for that earlier riser, the absolute first thing, before anything else, was reaching for a big glass of water.
Hydration. Always important.
Yeah, but the reasoning was interesting. They felt like their brain just wasn't ready to function, really, until it was rehydrated after sleep.
That makes sense. It's a simple habit, but the why behind it is compelling, isn't it? Actively, counteracting that dehydration to kickstart your brain.
Totally. Then following that, for both scenarios we looked at, came those sort of core physical wake-up steps.
The basics.
Yeah, brushing teeth, maybe a splash of cold water on the face,
Mm.
a quick shower for some. These aren't like revolutionary actions.
No, but they signal that shift, don't they? From sleep mode to wakefulness mode.
Right. It's that fundamental, useful language of daily life.
Mm-hmm.
Verbs like wake up, brush, shower, get dressed, just feel solid, real.
Okay, so you're physically awake. What about fuel? Food?
Right, then attention shifts to fuel.
Yeah.
And the breakfast habits, they definitely varied. Seem to reflect different needs, different timelines.
Makes sense.
Some accounts mentioned really light options, just toast, maybe a banana. Simple carbs for quick energy.
While others went for something a bit more substantial, like eggs or oatmeal maybe.
Exactly. Aiming for that longer-lasting energy, I guess.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's the reality for lots of people.
Coffee and run.
Pretty much. Or coffee and a granola bar when time is just really tight. It just shows how routines have to adapt, right?
Absolutely. They're not set in stone. So while you're fueling up, or maybe right after, what's next? Thinking about the day.
Yeah, the mental prep starts. Looking over the day's plans, maybe reviewing a work schedule, checking a study syllabus, seeing what assignments are due. It kind of anchors you in the day ahead.
Okay. And I remember one really specific tactic that stood out about goals.
Oh, yes. That was powerful. Setting just one or maybe up to 3 key goals for the day.
Not a huge to-do list.
No, not that sprawling list that just makes you feel tired looking at it, just a short, really focused selection.
And why is that so effective, do you think?
Well, it felt like a really important insight. Trying to tackle too many things right at the start, it can just create this feeling of overwhelm before you've even properly begun,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So focusing on just one or maybe three things, it gives you a clear target. It seems to reduce that initial stress and maybe helps build a bit of momentum.
It injects that intentionality we talked about, but without demanding perfection right out of the gate.
Exactly. And just seeing how different people handle these first few hours, even with really basic actions, it just underscores how foundational these early habits are. They really do seem to set the tone and the energy for the rest of the day.
I agree. It's not about having some picture-perfect morning routine from a magazine. It's more about consciously choosing even just a few small actions that help you transition effectively.
Yeah, and it builds confidence, talking about these simple steps, because they really do matter, don't they?
They really do. Which brings us out of that quiet preparation of the morning.
And into the more dynamic flow of the afternoon.
The afternoon. Yeah, this feels like the engine room of the day, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. The energy definitely shifts. That quiet focus of the morning often gives way to, well, increased demands, whether that's work stuff, study, other tasks.
It's definitely a transition point. We saw descriptions of people, say, wrapping up morning classes around 12:30.
And hitting straight to the kitchen, often feeling pretty hungry by then.
Yeah, or someone working remotely, maybe finishing up a batch of customer support calls or emails around noon.
And lunch seems to be typically a quick refuel before diving back in. The common theme was definitely ease.
Like what sort of things?
Noodles, a simple rice bowl, maybe toast with eggs if energy felt low, or just a sandwich, and often a cup of tea alongside it.
Keeping it light, maybe?
Yeah, the preference seemed to be for something that wouldn't weigh you down too much before getting back to focused tasks, which could be, deep study like coding or checking assignments.
Or shifting back into work mode, taking calls, answering emails.
Right. And this leads to, I think, one of the most critical insights we pulled from all this.
Let me guess. Breaks.
You got it. The absolute necessity of taking breaks. This really stood out.
There was a clear realization, wasn't there, that trying to just push through constantly without breaks, it just leads straight to burnout.
Totally. And the accounts didn't just say take breaks. They detailed how they took them and why they felt they worked.
Right. It wasn't just stepping away vaguely. It was about actively trying to reset the brain.
Yeah, like short walks, listening to music, or even just lying down for 10 minutes was mentioned.
And one person emphasized a dedicated 15 minutes with no screen, no stress, just space.
That intentional disconnect feels so powerful. It's not just about resting your body. It's about giving your cognitive resources a moment to recover.
Like your prefrontal cortex, the bit's doing all the heavy lifting with focus and decisions.
Exactly. It gets fatigued. So a break isn't laziness, is it? It's actually a strategic recovery period. It lets you come back with renewed focus.
It really raises that important question, doesn't it? Is true productivity about just relentless effort, hour after hour?
Or is it about strategic recovery woven into the effort?
Right. Because pushing through might feel productive in the moment.
Yeah. You feel like you're being tough or dedicated.
But the costs down the line, diminished capacity, making mistakes, eventual burnout, that cost is significant.
Definitely. And the afternoon isn't always just heads down focused tasks either. Some accounts mentioned using this time for more maybe creative work.
Like planning or editing.
Yeah, or collaborating with other people, checking in, bouncing ideas around. It suggests that even within that main push of the day, there's room for different kinds of activities if you plan for them intentionally.
So whether you're a student grinding through assignments or a freelancer juggling different projects or working a remote job, the afternoon is typically that period of highest output, wouldn't you say?
Seems like it.
And finding ways to balance that effort with those strategic pauses. That seems key to sustaining your energy and focus through those busiest hours.
It's about managing your energy, isn't it? Not just managing your tasks.
Well put. And after that period of high energy, high focus, we arrive at what feels like a collective sigh of relief for many people.
The evening. Yes. The intentional wind down starts here.
It's time to consciously shift gears, right? The descriptions included specific transition habits, things that signal the end of the on state.
Like taking a shower right after finishing work or studying.
Yeah.
That came up as a way to physically and mentally reset.
And changing into comfortable clothes,
Mm.
cozy clothes, that reinforces the shift too.
Totally. These small physical actions, they become like powerful cues for your brain, don't they? Marking that boundary between the day's demands and the time for relaxation.
Okay, so you've transitioned. What about dinner?
Dinner habits were, again, pretty practical, often quick. Making something light like a stir-fry or pasta came up.
Eating leftovers was mentioned too.
Yeah, or a simple meal like rice and chicken, typically around maybe 7 p.m. The focus seemed to be on getting nourishment efficiently, without a huge amount of effort after a busy day.
Makes sense. And then post-dinner, that's when the intentional relaxation really seems to deepen.
Yes. The accounts detailed some lovely little rituals, actually. Things aimed at creating calm.
Like what?
A short walk outside for some fresh air helps clear the head.
Right.
Lighting a scented candle and making a warm drink, like green tea, was described as a really comforting ritual by one person.
Oh, that sounds nice. Very cozy.
Yeah. And opening a book, even if it's just for 10 minutes, that was another habit mentioned. A way to shift away from screens and engage your mind differently, more calmly.
Listening to soft music, lo-fi beats, that came up too, didn't it? As a sort of background for unwinding.
It did, along with some light stretching, even just 5 minutes apparently, to release some physical tension.
See, these aren't huge time commitments, are they? But they actively signal to your body and your mind that it's time to decelerate.
And there was a conscious effort described to minimize screen time in the evening.
Which is often a battle, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah. But there was also an acknowledgement of a slight compromise sometimes, allowing maybe a little bit of screen time, perhaps watching one episode of a favorite show.
The wind down watch.
Exactly. But the key thing seemed to be the intention behind it and setting a clear boundary.
Like stopping at least 30 minutes before actually heading to bed to allow for a smoother transition towards sleep.
Right. And following this came the final sort of physical steps. Washing your face, brushing your teeth, the usual stuff.
But then there was a significant mental practice mentioned too, journaling.
Yes. And again, not needing to write pages and pages. Just a few lines maybe, reflecting on the day.
What went well? What was challenging?
Yeah, maybe something to try differently tomorrow. It was like a quiet way to process things and kind of close the loop on the day.
You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, these evening activities, they aren't just passive leisure time, are they?
No, they feel more active than that.
They feel like active preparation for effective rest. These rituals, whether they're big or small, they really guide the body and mind into a state that's actually conducive to sleep.
It really highlights that making time to intentionally slow down is crucial. Your brain, your body, they've been working hard all day.
And they need that deliberate signal that it's okay to transition now.
Yeah. And that transition takes us finally to the last chapter of the day.
The night routine, the quietest time.
This is where the world really shrinks down, doesn't it? And the focus becomes entirely on transitioning to rest. The atmosphere described is like dark, quiet, a sense of calm settling in.
And the big emphasis here is on disconnecting, both physically and mentally.
Stopping the planning for tomorrow. Stopping the checking of devices. A really practical tip mentioned was keeping the phone physically out of reach.
Like on the other side of the room.
Yeah, just to remove that temptation to grab it and start scrolling right before you try to sleep.
That physical separation is key, I think, for creating mental distance too. And then came the specific rituals, the things aimed at actually promoting sleepiness and calm.
Simple things like deep breathing, taking maybe 10 slow breaths just to quiet a busy mind.
Other habits seemed more sensory and comforting, almost nostalgic maybe.
Like drinking warm milk or chamomile tea. Those actions that kind of evoke a feeling of safety and help induce sleepiness.
Yeah, or wrapping oneself tightly in a blanket for comfort was another one. Or simply lying still, just focusing inward.
And there was that one particularly unique, almost symbolic habit mentioned.
Oh.
The pillow fluffing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fluffing a pillow exactly 3 times before lying down. It was described as this little personal ritual that serves as a really distinct signal. The day is definitively done now. Helps to mentally close that door.
And then just allowing yourself to lie there, maybe staring into the dark, letting any lingering thoughts or noise just fade away.
That practice of allowing thoughts to fade rather than, wrestling with them, that came up when talking about dealing with a racing mind at night. Yeah, techniques like listening to calming nature sounds provides a gentle distraction, maybe.
Or even whispering kind words to yourself.
Yes, phrases like, you did your best, or you're okay, let go now. They aren't just empty affirmations, are they?
No, they feel like conscious efforts to counter that anxiety or self-criticism that can keep you awake.
What's fascinating here is how these seemingly simple actions, breathing, fluffing a pillow, whispering, become these powerful signals for the mind to shift from doing all day,
It's just being.
which is essential for true rest.
It feels like there's maybe a deeper layer to this final part of the day than just, preparing for sleep.
What do you mean?
Like, this is about processing, maybe, and perhaps a quiet moment of forgiveness.
Forgiveness of what?
Of yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
Of the day. Of anything that felt incomplete or difficult.
I see. Like a reset button.
Exactly. A reset not just for the body, but maybe for the spirit, too. Night routines, they don't require perfection or strict adherence.
No, they should just feel like a path towards peace, allowing you to let go of the day so you can truly rest and be ready to start anew tomorrow.
So we've kind of journeyed through a whole day now, haven't we? Explored all those moments from the first light to the quiet dark.
Yeah. And what emerges from looking at these accounts of daily life are some really powerful themes, I think. Concepts that help explain why these habits matter and how they shape our experience.
Totally. Looking across the different parts of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, night, certain ideas just kept surfacing, didn't they?
Yeah.
Giving us language to talk about the rhythm and the intention behind routines.
Like unplug, that came up.
Yeah, we saw that clearly in the evening, stepping away from screens. But it also applies to those breaks in the afternoon, right? It's that intentional act of disconnecting from all the external demands to give your mind some space.
Or wind down, that process of gradually relaxing after being busy.
We saw all those rituals in the evening, the shower, the candle, the tea. They're all part of that deliberate deceleration, aren't they?
Recharge is obviously fundamental, resting to get your energy back.
Whether it's that strategic break in the middle of the day or the full night's sleep, just recognizing that need to refuel seems crucial for sustained effort.
Cozy came up too. It captures that desired feeling in the evening, doesn't it? Warm comfort. It's about creating an environment that actually supports relaxation and peace.
And even something really simple, like leftovers, popped up.
Huh. Yeah, it speaks to the practicality of daily life, right? Fitting into those quick, easy dinner needs after a long day.
Reset feels like a really powerful one that kind of echoed throughout the day.
How so?
Well, from a cold splash of water in the morning to a shower after work, even to that idea of forgiveness at night. It's that ability to clear the slate, mentally or physically, and just start fresh.
Yeah. Ritual, too. That highlights the significance of those small, repeated actions.
Like the scented candle or the few lines in a journal or even, fluffing the pillow 3 times.
Yeah.
They aren't just habits. They seem to be invested with personal meaning that helps signal transitions and create a bit of stability.
And reflection. That came through clearly in the journaling practice, didn't it? Taking that quiet moment to process the day, think about your feelings, maybe learn from the experience.
And then there's let go. That feels like the essential final step, especially at night.
Releasing the stress, the mistakes, the need for control, all the unfinished tasks.
Yeah, it seems necessary for true rest, for real peace.
We also touched on push through, that need for persistence sometimes.
But paired with that clear understanding from the accounts that constantly pushing without recovery, that leads to a significant cost. Burnout, basically.
So these aren't just like vocabulary words we're listing. They're powerful concepts that emerge when you really look closely at how people structure their days.
Yeah, they offer a lens, maybe, a way to examine your own daily blueprint and identify where you might need to, unplug more or wind down better or recharge more effectively or maybe practice letting go.
Which raises that important question for you, listening now. Looking at your own day, how many of these ideas could you perhaps intentionally weave into your own rhythm?
We've walked through the day, haven't we? From those very first moments you open your eyes, right through to that quiet space just before sleep. Seeing how simple, consistent actions really do build the structure of our lives.
And it feels pretty clear that routines, far from being restrictive cages, can actually be incredibly powerful tools for creating space, managing energy, and finding those crucial moments of peace amidst all the demands of life.
So as you think about your own day, maybe reflect. What parts of this journey resonated most with you? What felt familiar? And what perhaps offered a new perspective or an idea to try?
And remember, it's really not about having some perfect, rigid routine you follow flawlessly every single day. That's not the goal.
No, it's much more about building intention into the structure of your day. It's recognizing that the small, consistent choices, that glass of water first thing, the 15-minute break away from the screen, the quiet cup of tea in the evening, the few lines in a journal, the conscious act of letting go at night.
That's where the real magic happens, isn't it? In those small moments.
Because
Yeah.
maybe the most significant changes in your life aren't born from grand, dramatic gestures. Maybe they come from the quiet, consistent choices you make, day in and day out, between sunrise and sunset.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the blueprint of daily life.